What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Maverick the Enigma, the general of the E Unit, which is you guys. What's going on, E Unit? I am back with another video. This time, this is going to be more of a discussion-based video. Yes, sir. I haven't done one of these, and I figured, since the Def Jam Fight for New York community is rapidly growing at a fast rate, and it recently just got put in the top 20 greatest fighting games of all time by WatchMojo.com. I figured I'd go ahead and shed some light on what I believe are the top 10 hardest fights in story mode, in the main story mode of Def Jam Fight for New York. Okay. Now, some of the criteria for this list is going to be a bit mixed. 10 entries. But before I get to number one, I'm going to throw in honorable mentions. The criteria for this list is based on how I've struggled beating these characters versus how other YouTubers have struggled beating these characters, because a lot of the YouTubers that I've saw playing this game are a bunch of beginners. There's only one of these YouTubers that I do consider a pro at the game, but I digress. I consider myself pretty pro at the game, even though I've yet to test my skills in a tournament. I pretty much know some of the tips and tricks to, guarantee you guys the best amount of success when it comes to this amazing game that is Def Jam Fight for New York. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the list. You know what I'm saying? All right, so beginning at number 10, we have Exhibit. Exhibit is very, very tough because his kicks do a crap load of damage. His kick combos are the main thing you have to worry about. Plus, at the beginning of the fight, he loves to rush you, and he'll get counter happy mid fight too, like especially if you're playing on hard mode. So he won't be too easy to bring down. My suggestion for beginners against Exhibit is do not let him get any momentum, because his speed is high, and those people with high speed and high charisma, it's a bad combination. So if you let your opponent that has high speed and high charisma and high damage in one part, rather be upper or lower body, they will be hard to bring down if you let them get any momentum. If you don't let them build momentum, you can win the fight. My go-to is, since you're fighting him at the limit, this will be the only time you fight Exhibit in the game. You could throw him against the pool table. You could throw him against the rooster sign. Well, you're going to have to do it more than once, because the rooster sign doesn't become available as environmental unless you throw him into it to break the sign. Or use the jukebox, which you can only use 3 times, which I don't really recommend. But, as long as it gets him in a danger zone. And, depending on your style combinations at this time, because up at this point of the story, I suggest you have all 3 of your styles bought, especially if you're playing on hard mode. If you're like me, who likes to use all the striking style, which is kickboxing, street fighting, and martial arts, not in that order, but you get it. I like to clinch into the haymaker, you know what I'm saying, and make sure my fighter's damage is high, you know what I'm saying, and emphasis is on toughness and health. If your toughness and health is high, you should be able to last against Exhibit. And since he strikes a lot more than he grapples, you should definitely be able to counter him. He does have submissions, so be wary when he hard grapples you. You know what I'm saying? He'll either clinch kick you and throw you into a submission, or just hard grab you and just throw you into a submission to wear down your health. Just make sure your upper and lower are and your toughness is high, so that way you can break out of the submissions easier, and your head health, your arm health, and leg health don't go down so fast. But anyway, that's Exhibit. And that's my computer going off because of a notification. But anywho, that's Exhibit. Number 9 on this list, I have Scarface. Now, Scarface, I see a lot of normal YouTubers struggle against this guy, and for good reason. He has a high amount of toughness, meaning he's going to last a lot longer than the opponents you fought, especially on medium and hard difficulties. On easy, he doesn't last that much, but on medium and hard, where the stats actually do matter more, hell yeah. It's going to be a damn struggle. It's going to be terrifying going up against this guy, especially if you're a first-time player. He'll throw the haymaker at you occasionally, but he doesn't really spam it. Like what Scarface really likes to do, he likes to block and wait for you to grab, and then he'll reverse your grabs. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he'll counter your strike mid combo, and then he'll get in a blazing off you if he has it. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's important for you as the player to not let Scarface do it. I say, like, do a regular strike, and then grab, but don't do it too often or he'll counter it every time. Just try to mix up your strategy against him. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, you know, in the midst of all that, use the environment. And I'm gonna stress this enough in the middle. Use the environment. Like, you're fighting him at the Babylon, which is the only place you fight him at in the main cannon. I suggest you throw him against the one of the two pillars. You throw him up against the wall on the left side of the stage, or you throw up against the flooring on the other side of the stage, because you know there's the stairs and then there's the base flooring. That's what I call it. It's a wall, but it's flooring for another level of the stage. Yeah. But yeah, man. He also has punishing wrestling throws. So if you can avoid him hard grappling you, you'll have higher chances of success. Like, for example, you can reverse a hard grapple. Like, it's easy to see when a hard grapple is coming versus a quick grapple, because quick grapples, they're fast, and since wrestlers have a farther range, they could easily grab you still. But you know, if you could, like, depending on your character speed, you can like reverse it with a punch or reverse it with a kick, and then if you got street fighting, following up with a haymaker, or kickboxing, following up with a hard kick, or you know what I'm saying, if your opponent's close enough, following it with a hard grapple attack of your own. Whatever you want, just make sure, you know what I'm saying, you use the environment, and you know, just basically let Scarface come to you. I mean, you know, you could throw little quick jabs at him, you know what I'm saying, so that way he doesn't punish you mid-combo. Just be ready for his responses at any time, and you'll win the match. But yeah, I've seen a lot of guys struggle against this guy firsthand because, you know, they let him get too much momentum. They was too spammy, you know what I'm saying. They wasn't defense oriented enough. They were all offense. No, you got to play both sides against Scarface. But anywho, on number 8, same guy. He's just a little faster. It's Family. Now, Family, unlike Scarface, does not have punishing wrestling throws, despite having wrestling as one of his fighting styles. But he does have martial arts and street fighting. And his charisma is somewhat high, so his momentum meter fills up pretty quick. So that's another thing you got to mess up. You got to tough it out with. But the main thing you got to worry about him here is his ability, his defense. Because this guy loves to counter you. He loves to block you. And more importantly, when he counters you, he loves to hard grapple too. So like I said, you know, and you're in 7th heaven in this arena. This is my favorite arena in the game. 7th heaven is my favorite arena in the game because there are bottles everywhere, and you can use any environment and any part of the walls in the arena as an environmental attack, because there's nothing you can't use to punish him. But don't get too comfortable using it, because he will reverse your grapples, and once he reverses your grapples, he will follow it up with a haymaker, and you don't want that, especially considering your fighter is pretty much mid-tier at this point of the story. Depending on if you didn't do the chop shop tournament at first, you know what I'm saying, where you get all those dev points, and you didn't spend it on toughness and health, it's gonna be a big fast slugfest. But my thing is, the longer you let this fight last, the worst outcome you could potentially have against him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. He also likes to do this one hard grapple where he headlocks you and he knees you twice in the head. I hate that. That's just cheesy. He's the only fighter that really has that. But yeah, man. Family, yeah, he's hard. He's tough to take out because of how little his health goes down. But you know, you gotta have perseverance when fighting guys who are as annoying as Family. Anywho, number 7 is going to be a fight where you fight earlier in the game, and you don't have much room for environmental attacks, but nonetheless you should use them anyway. Number 7, you fight Ice-T at Club 357 one-on-one early in the game. Now, early in the game, your fighter stats are piss poor, but don't worry, you can still pull this off depending on which style you have. I usually don't recommend wrestling or submissions because they involve a lot of grappling. But if you do have wrestling, you can like grab him and press towards the ropes and A to bounce his throat off the ropes. You know what I'm saying? And you can also throw him towards the turnbuckle and do a punishing wrestling move off there. if you're playing on hard, I wouldn't recommend spamming hard grapples against him because he could easily reverse them if his health and toughness is high enough. You know what I'm saying? And he'll eventually reverse into a submission of his own. And that's one part of his strategy that you don't want to be caught up in, because your fighter stats are pitifully low around this time. And if you get caught in submissions, good luck getting out of them at this point in the story where your toughness is not that high yet. You know what I'm saying? Unless you've been beefing up your fighter in that area alone and no other areas. I mean, you might not have to worry, but even then, what about your lower power? What about your upper power? What about your health? You're still going to take mad damage from that. And before you know it, he'll be blazing because his charisma is high. So one strategy is, if you're a street fighter, I suggest throwing haymakers a lot at him, because early on, the computer doesn't really reverse haymakers like that. You know what I'm saying? So take advantage of that. Even in hard mode, they don't really reverse haymakers early on in the game. Like, I like to face Ice-T after I beat everybody at Foundation. You know what I'm saying? Just to get it out the way. Like, you know, this is cliche whenever I run through this game for y'all. Y'all know. But anyway, haymakers. You want to use the turnbuckles regardless of what fighting style you have. I would say the hardest style to beat Ice-T with is between wrestling and martial arts. Submissions you could wear down his I think his leg health, because his lower power isn't really as high. Or was it his upper power? I think his upper power. Like, you can wear down his arm pretty good. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta resort to hard grappling a lot, so it's probably the second hardest. Martial arts and wrestling are tied, because kickboxing and street fighting, you at least have a KO attempt, because with the KOs you can have a clinch into a blazing. If you have a blazing, and then with street fighting, if the blazing don't kill him, you can always haymaker him. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I would say, be prepared when Ice-T hard grapples you. You know what I'm saying? Be prepared to reverse if your fighter can. Most times your fighter won't be able to, because his speed is not as high as Ice-T's. So just be prepared. I would say if you can't reverse his grapples at this point of the story, try to dodge him by moving your stick to the side when he starts his grapple animation, so he'll miss. Or when he's striking, get out the way instead of blocking. Or if you can, counter. You know what I'm saying? And then you should be able to outlast Mr. 6 in the morning himself. So yeah, man, you guys are gonna be good with all these tricks and tips. But yeah, Ice-T is hard nonetheless. Anywho, number 6 on my list is the rapper from 213 himself, Mr. Warren G, the Regulator. Now, you fight him only one time in this story, one-on-one. The next time you fight him potentially, depending on the opponent selected in the free-for-all tournament, you fight him again. But in some cases, it'll just be you, Manny, flipping pockets instead of you, Manny, flipping Warren G. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, in most cases, you are going to have to fight him again. But Chop Shop is the place where you mandatorily have to fight him one-on-one. And he is annoying to fight. Because, say if you stay still during the first beginning stages of the fight, he'll stay still with you. Because he's literally waiting for you to attack, so he'll counter. How do I prove this theory? Simple. I throw out a jab when I'm not near him, and he automatically does this. The missed counter animation. He's always looking to counter you early on. Now, how to cheat this is basically throw a quick strike when you're not too close to where it can be successful, so he can't counter you. And then if you're a street fighter, do a haymaker. If you're a kickboxer, do a long kick. Same thing with a martial artist. Martial artists don't have haymakers, but they have other punishing kicks you can match with the hard kick or hard punch button. Just do it before he recovers his missed counter animation, and he'll even block you. He'll even stand there and just block you if he can't counter you. If you try to combo him, and if you try to grab mid combo after he's blocking, he'll get off the block and reverse it with a punch or reverse it with a kick, and then punish you there. But eventually, once you get momentum going, and once you use the environment, you know what I'm saying? Because eventually he's going to let you grab him. He just likes to do that early on. He'll eventually let you grab him. You know what I'm saying? But once you start punishing him with the environment, you know what I'm saying? The fight gets easier and easier. Like I said with Family and Scarface, the more you allow the fight to drag on, the more chance he has to win. So finishing him off quickly should seal the deal. And I would say, for pro gamers that like to play on hard mode like me, wait for him to attack. You know what I'm saying? Manipulate him by throwing a jab out, and then either punish his counter stance or sit back and wait for him to make the first move towards you. Like, move towards him, but don't press nothing and see what he does and then counter it. Because your fighter stats should be high mid at this point of the game, because you have already completed the Chop Shop Teen Tournament at this point and probably have already defeated Lil Flip and Busta Rhymes. So you should be pretty decent on stats, and you should have all three of your styles at this point. If you don't have all three of your styles at this point, go to the freaking gym and get your third style. So yeah, man. But other than that, Warren G is still a tough opponent nonetheless. Now we get into the nitty gritty, because these 5 fights I see everyone on YouTube, especially if they play on hard mode, struggle with. Number 5, I have Mr. Duddy Rock himself, Sean Paul. Sean Paul, he's very tough because early on in the game, your stats are not as high, especially your speed, because he is faster than you, and he deals way more damage than you do, especially if he kicks you. And, it's like I said with other martial artists that are on this list. You let them get any momentum at all, you'll be KO'd in seconds. What should play to your advantage in this fight is that Sean Paul's toughness isn't that high either, like yours isn't, if you are filling up your stats evenly at this point. You know what I'm saying? But if you're focused on toughness help like me, you know what I'm saying, you should have no problem with him. But typically I see a lot of YouTubers, they like to sit back and let him recover. I would say keep your assault going, you know what I'm saying, and don't stop, using the environment, don't stop using the crowd. And Sean Paul's weakness as well, one of his many weaknesses is weapons, since he does counter your strikes a lot early on in the match, but later on he tends to block. Like, if he sees you have a weapon, he will block, and if you're far enough away from him to where he can't counter, then I would suggest mashing the L1 if you're on GameCube, the L shoulder, and LB if you're on Xbox, and triangle Y or I think the punch button is Y on the GameCube too. So yeah, man, I suggest holding the hard button modifier and then the punch button, so that way when you swing, it'll reach farther. If you do a light swing, it won't reach as far. If you do a heavy swing, it'll reach far. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Because there's a lot of pole cues that are around Babylon that you could use. Other than the environment, like the 2 speakers, the 2 pillars, and the wall and the flooring. But yeah, man, other than that, you should be fine. And I suggest, if you're a beginner, do not pick Carmen Electra as your girlfriend after you beat your first fight at the Babylon. Do not pick Carmen Electra as your girlfriend, because you're going to fight Skull if you do. And if you end up losing the Skull, you start the fight with like less than half health. But if you beat Skull, whatever health you had after you beat Skull, you carry that into the fight against Sean Paul, and it'll make your fight a little bit more harder than it already is. But yeah, man. But it still doesn't change the fact that Sean Paul is a tough opponent, because he is super duper fast and his kicks do super amounts of damage. So I would suggest, if your toughness is that high and if your speed is that high, like if you've been using your development points wisely, you can counter him at times, like, because there were times where I was able to counter him. It's not as bad as if you're fighting against Ice-T early on in the story and you're trying to counter him. So you have more likelihood of countering Sean than you do Ice-T at this point in the story. But Sean Paul is way faster than Ice-T and has way more punishing combos, and his charisma is high too. So that's why I put him above Ice-T and Warren G. So, but yeah, man. And plus, I've seen more YouTubers lose to Sean Paul more than I've seen him lose to Warren G and Ice-T. So yeah, man. All right, we're getting to the round Rushmore now. Number 4, everybody has lost to this guy. Because he likes to do this one move that I'm going to get into that is very well known, but it's hyper annoying. That's right. Number 4, Fat Joe Ass Crack. And I'm only putting the first fight on here, even though I've seen plenty of people lose against him in the Gauntlet too, because they're beginners. But usually at the Gauntlet, your stats are much higher if you implement the same strategy that you used to beat him the first fight at Club Murder. There, you should be good. But even then, everybody lost to Fat Joe at a point in their Def Jam Fight for New York story mode careers. Everybody has, even me. But yeah, the main thing you want to watch out for is his toughness. His toughness is very high, so it's going to be a long, dragged out fight, especially on hard mode. But the main thing I want you to know is 2 things. Use the environment. You're in a cage. use the cage, and do not let him hard grapple you. You let him hard grapple you, he's going to do the pedigree on you, and he loves doing that pedigree. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Pedigree here, pedigree there, pedigree everywhere. And when he does it the first time, remember, your stats are not that high yet. So when he does it the first time, you will be stunned, regardless of your stats. Let me tell you that, regardless of your stats, because even in the gauntlet fight, he did the pedigree on me, and I was still stunned. His pedigree is instant stun. Not like Scarface, who isn't instant stun, but his pedigree is instant stun. He pedigrees you, picks you up, hard grabbles you again. He either pedigrees you one more time, or he does the street fighting haymaker or another grapple move. But yeah, his wrestler moves are super, super damaging. So do not let that cat grab you. And if he light grapples you, he'll more than likely will try to throw you into a wall, which is the least of your problems. You know what I'm saying? But if he hard grapples you, that's when it gets tough. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would say use the environment. If you're a kickboxer, if he gets dizzy after one environmental move, which they all do, try to do a clinch and then throw him into the wall again, or clinch into a haymaker. Just don't stop your assault, and don't let him, don't let him grab you. Like, you see him about to do the grabbing animation. If you're close enough, you can interrupt it with an attack if your fighter's fast enough, or if you time it right, you can counter him and open him up to either a haymaker, a hard grapple of your own, a hard kick, or something. You know what I'm saying? Just be prepared to play defense at all costs, but in the midst of your assault. Because if you let Fat Joe get any sort of momentum, he will punish you badly, and it will end badly. And from time to time, like, if you're too far away, and this is one strategy I like to implement, if you're too far away from Fat Joe, he'll throw the haymaker at you, and it's super, super slow, so it'll be easy for you to counter at that time, because your stats are like near mid. They're not super high, but they're near mid enough for you to counter if you've been spending your points on speed and toughness and health. You should be able to counter his haymaker pretty quick. And if you have martial arts, it should counter into a damaging attack. Or, if you have any other style, you can counter him into either a haymaker or a hard grapple of your own. So, yeah, man. But, yeah, keep using the environment. Do not let him hard grapple you. And reverse the haymaker. You know what I'm saying? That's the tips I give, for dealing with Fat Joe. Number 3 is a fighter I struggle with fighting all the time. And a lot of people struggle with because we play on hard mode a lot. Some people make him look easy. I've lost to him a few times. Number 3, you're going to be shocked, but Crazy Legs is here. Yeah, that's right. And, he's this high on the list because I've lost to him more times than I lost to Fat Joe, to be honest. Because, this dude is a complete and utter cheap troll. He reverses every move you throw at him, be it a strike, be it a grapple. It doesn't matter if it's light or heavy. He reverses everything you throw at him on medium and on hard. You know what I'm saying? I would say implement the Warren G strategy to where, instead of you letting him be a cheap bitch, just let him come to you. But I will say his speed is maxed out, so his attacks are going to be harder to counter because they come out so fast. His easiest attacks to parry are his punches, but his kicks, because he break dances a lot, because he has the only form of max capoeira that in the game aim to learn, because he's the only fighter with his style of capoeira. Every other capoeira fighter like Danji, Lil Flip, and Sean Paul have the same style. His capoeira is a masterful capoeira. He's the only fighter in that game with that type of capoeira, and you can't learn it, not with your fighting style. So your best bet in this scenario is just to, wait till he comes to you. His kicks are hard enough to reverse, so I suggest blocking him, because most of the times he's going to be on the floor and recovering. And while he's in that recovering, you know what I'm saying, I would say grab him and throw him into one of those metal pillars, or throw him into the Terradome wall. You know what I'm saying? And just punish him that way. And be aware, there's only really one big advantage you have in this fight, is that the fact that his toughness is pitifully low. So he can dish out the pain, but he can't really take it. So if you have high striking power, like if you're a street fighter, this will play in your area. If you have street fighting and kickboxing, this will play dividends in your area. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can reverse them to the point where you can get a haymaker off, or get a kickboxing clinch into a haymaker, that'll be nice. If you're a wrestler, your wrestling moves should pay off pretty good here. If you're a submission stylist, since his toughness is low, his limbs won't recover that quick. and then like if you're a martial artist, you can easily counter him into another attack. But if you're a fellow martial artist like he is, like solo martial artist, I would suggest getting another style first before you fight Crazy Legs. But yeah, man, Crazy Legs is just super super quick, and he counters a lot. And so be prepared to put up with that annoyance. You know what I'm saying? It's like with all martial artists. Do not let them get any type of momentum. You know what I'm saying? Keep yourself strong. Be aware. He'll throw out the block. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when he blocks, he won't always reverse the grab. So I suggest strike, then grab, or strike, then grab. You know what I'm saying? One of those strategies. But don't strike too many times, and the fifth time he grabs you, because that'll always get reversed. I've tried this before. Anywho, we're getting down into the last two. Now, number 2 is going to come the shocker to all of you guys that have played this game at a beginner's level or further. But number 2 is the final boss of the game, Snoop Dogg as Crow himself. Now, I put him second on this list because the first one I've lost plenty more times on the harder difficulties. Crow I've lost to on all 3 difficulties, but easy because I was a beginner. But you know what I'm saying, I've lost to him on medium and hard because of one thing he continuously kept doing is using the windows against me. You know what I'm saying? It took a few years as a seasoned veteran of Dead Jam 5 to finally understand how to beat Crow at his own game. Well, not at his own game, but in his own level. To finally beat Crow, you know what I'm saying, fairly and unhaphazardly. So a lot of new guys struggle against him because he is one of the most broken characters in the game. I mean, he is banned in every tournament for a reason. Reason number 1, he does not have submissions listed, but he can do submissions on you. He doesn't really break them out like that in this fight, though, so you don't have to worry about that. Number 2, number 2 reason for why this fight is hard. He starts off with a weapon, and you start off with 25% of your health gone, and you also start off on the floor. So what is he doing while you're on the floor? Poking you with that weapon. And that weapon does a crap ton of damage. So if you don't get up and punch him out of it, or get up and grab him, and so that way he drops it, you know what I'm saying? Be prepared to have his blazer meter filled, and you'll be kicked out of the window faster than you could say lightning. Another reason why he's tough. His speed is maxed out, so he can interrupt any one of your attacks and mix-ups. Reason number 4 why he's so hard. He can KO you with his hard kick or his hard punch because he has advanced Shotokan karate, and you cannot learn that. So yeah, man, he is tough, and he has martial arts plus reversals, not martial arts negative reversals like Sean Paul has. But yeah, man, he is a handful to deal with. But over the years, as I've developed strategies on how to win against him, he got easier and easier. One of the strategies I've developed is pretty much don't let him use the windows against you, because when I'm far away from the windows and fighting him, he gets super predictable. Like, he'll always go for more grabs versus more strikes. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll throw strikes out to begin, but the grab will eventually come. And, I always just let go of block and reverse it in time, because that is possible for you to do too if you're fast enough. But around this time, your fighter stats should be near max, like very, very high. So your fighter should not go down as hard. And your fighter should have 3 styles at this point in the game. So, that'll also pay dividends in your favor. But he's high in every single stat, and you are going to have a long, drawn-out battle if you play on medium or higher. But, main thing is stay away from the windows. Use every other part of the environment but the windows. And, be prepared to reverse and, use your hard attacks mid-animation. And, don't let him hard grapple you into a submission hold, but he doesn't really do that. When he hard grapples you, he tries to throw you near the windows, and he won't try to do no punishing move, and he'll just try to throw you towards the windows, and he gets very predictable there. And when he's away from the windows, he throws a lot more grabs at you in hopes that you'll get over to that window area, because he's trying constantly to throw you out the window. So and I put this high on this list because everybody has struggled with beating Snoop Dogg before. Everybody has. You know what I'm saying? I have bad memories of me losing to Snoop Dogg. Everybody has bad memories of losing to Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, before I get to number 1, it's time for some honorable mentions. All right. Honorable mention number 1. Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins is the only fighter with more than 3 styles in the game, which is more than you can learn. Is it cheating? I guess you could say that, but considering your fighter stats are high, I wouldn't presume this match to be too much of a problem. That's why it didn't really make the list, but he's challenging still nonetheless because he is your teacher in the video game, canon wise. So yeah, Hey Rollins is tough nonetheless, but you can only fight him once. Same thing with Sticky Fingers, who's in my next honorable mention. Sticky Fingers, y'all know how broken he is in the tournaments. He's been in the tournaments, arguably the second best Soul Street Fighter in the game, behind, of course, Suspect, who has all his stats maxed out. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Sticky Fingers. Considering you're fighting him in an Inferno match, he will always use the fire against you, and he'll try to trap you in it. Don't let him trap you in it. Be prepared for. But what makes him easier than most is he does haymaker spam, and you can easily counter it because it's very slow when he starts it up. Or if you're like me, you can either counter it into the fire or you can interrupt it. You know what I'm saying? But he's still hard nonetheless because his stats are super, super high and he's very, very damaging. Just do not let this dude get on a roll or he will beat you. Another honorable mention, Bubba Sparks. Very tough, very burly, box a lot, and pretty much waits for you to grab him so he can counter you into a hard wrestling move or kickboxing clinch. But, you know, I've only managed to lose to him like a couple times. Like, I haven't lost to him as much as I've lost to the 10 in my list or Sticky Fingers, you know what I'm saying? But he's still a tough opponent nonetheless. He's tough, but he's very predictable. But there are some times where he'll never let you just do anything and he just wails on you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he made my honorable mention. Another honorable mention is Bless. Now Bless, he's here. He did not make the list because of how pitiful his toughness is and his health is, but he made this list because his high speed and he loves to counter strikes. Like, as soon as the second or third strike is thrown, counter. So annoyance is his main weapon. Plus he has kickboxing and martial arts. So that's something else you have to be aware of while fighting Bless. Another fighter on this list that's in the honorable mentions is Comp. Comp loves to block, and waits for you to grab him so he can reverse you into his own hard grapple move. And you know what I'm saying? He loves to wait until that. So, you know, do what I said for Bubba Sparks and Fat Joe as crack. Wait for them. Do not let them hard hit you, and do not let them hard grapple you, and use the environment. You should be good. And your fighter's toughness should be high at this point, so Comp should be much easier than most to deal with. Lil Flip is another honorable mention because I see a lot of people on YouTube lose to him, even though I've struggled against him, but I've never lost to him. Very speedy. He's a capoeira fighter just like Sean Paul, but considering your stats are higher, he's much, much easier to beat here, and you only fight him once in the story mode. Elephant Man, you fight twice in one-on-one in the story mode, but he's easier at the heights, but he's harder at the Babylon because your fighter's stats aren't that high. He occasionally will reverse your strikes often and counter with a punishing kick combo of his own. He will clinch you to death if given the chance, so be careful of that. But other than that, just use what you would have for Sean Paul, and you should be fine. Dan G, he's also a capoeira fighter like Lil Flip and Sean Paul. The only difference is he has street fighting, so you got to be prepared for that haymaker. Furthermore, he loves, and on hard mode, he just loves to sit and wait for you to attack. And by the time he grabs you, he's reversing you into a haymaker or reversing you into a hard grapple, and he's punishing you for it. And then last honorable mention I have is Havoc. Havoc, he gets very, very tough early on because he has both martial arts and wrestling. So he'll counter you and do a hard wrestling move just to throw you off balance. So, you know what I'm saying? Be prepared for when he tries to counter you mid-combo. I would say do the strike then grapple or strike then grapple. Don't do too many strikes or he will counter you into a hard grapple. And, you know, same thing with all the other martial artists I mentioned was don't let them get no momentum and you should do fine. Just use the environment and use your countering strategies, use your hard grapples. Now, number one. The number one fight, and we've all struggled with this, but man, the first time I completed on hard mode, I had to do like at least the first time I completed on hard mode, I didn't know how I got this on the first try, but everybody else struggled it on the first try, and I completely understand why. But this last fight, this last story mode fight, oh my god, it is hellacious. You and Method Man as Blaze versus Busta Rhymes as Magic and Fat Joe as Crack in Hunts Point Scrapyard after hours. And here's reasons why this fight is hard. Number one, you start with full health and Blaze starts with half his health because in canon he got beat down with a baseball bat by Buster. Meanwhile, Magic and Crack have full health. Reason number two, Blaze's health goes down faster because he's injured. Reason number three, Blaze cannot use his Blazing move. He cannot activate Blazing even though he'll have his momentum full. Reason number four, half the fight, especially in hard mode, will be spent on keeping him alive. But the quicker you take out Fat Joe, because your fighter will automatically be linked to Fat Joe, the quicker you take out Fat Joe, the easier the fight gets. I'm telling you now. What I like to do is isolate Fat Joe to one part of the map, so that way Magic can just try to wear down Blaze with just submission moves. And sometimes out of nowhere, Blaze will reverse Magic's hard grapples and do a hard grapple of his own, which really turns the tide in our favor. Like, whatever you do, do not let Magic and Crack switch opponents, because if you do, Magic will lock you in a submission hold to where you can't go over there and stop Blaze from being KO'd by Crack. Furthermore, you have enough time, because Magic loves to spam submissions, you'll have enough time with Magic trying to wear down Blaze's limbs, because Blaze has high upper power and lower power. It takes longer for him to make him submit. He'll try to lower the health on his limbs, and it'll buy you enough time to get Fat Joe out of there first. You get Fat Joe out of there first, you basically just won the match. You pretty much can jump Magic. But what makes the fight even harder is on the right side of the arena, there's a garbage can with a muffler on it. Do not let any of them, Magic or Crack, use the muffler, because if Magic used the muffler against Blaze, he's going to get KO'd quickly. If you get the muffler out of there before they do, and you use all of it before they get to, it'll make the fight much more easier in your favor, considering that they cannot block against a weapon, but they can try to counter you. But your stats should be high enough to where you can counter and take the weapon back. You feel me? So yeah, just KO Fat Joe, and once you're done, regardless if as long as you KO Fat Joe before Buster makes Method Man submit, you should be good. Like, regardless if it happens right after or as long as it doesn't happen before you KO Fat Joe, because then you've pretty much lost the fight. You could try to martial arts it out or submit them out, but it doesn't matter. You pretty much lost the fight if you let Blaze die. But if Blaze doesn't die before Crack dies, you pretty much won the fight. You know what I'm saying? And Blaze can make Magic can make Blaze tap out after you KO Crack all he wants. It'll be just you versus him, and you can still win the match. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why this fight is number one is because the amount of times that early on I've struggled against it, because most of the times Blaze was getting knocked out and I was able to I was trying to fight them two on my own to no avail. And it's happened to so many other YouTubers to where they had to fight Magic and Crack by themselves and it didn't work out in their favor. You know what I'm saying? It's just you're put at a huge disadvantage early on because of what happened in the storyline. But yeah, man, just implement all these strategies I've used against all of these fighters that I've just mentioned, even honorable mentions, all of these guys. And you guys should be fine in your journey to becoming a full-fledged Def Jam 5 in New York story mode master. So with that being said, guys, don't forget to hit the like and hit a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to watch my previous Let's Plays and my previous playthroughs of Def Jam 5 in New York story mode, I will link them in the video description box down below. With that being said, I thank you guys for tuning in. And maybe in the future I'll do more Def Jam content, be it Vendetta or 5 in New York. I don't know. But until then, I'll see you guys soon for some more discussion videos like these. yeah, yet again, thank you all for watching. Hit that like, hit that comment, hit that sub, and hit the notification bell so y'all know when I upload. And I'll see you guys soon. All right? Peace.